Okay, I guess we'll get started. Okay, Domix Canaltony. This is we're here at Siksika Media again. This time we got counselor Ruben Buck Breaker. So yeah, last time we had Samuel Crowfoot. He kind of gave us a little bit about himself, what he does, and so yeah, it's nice to have Buck Breaker here. Maybe just to start out, maybe we could tell us a little bit about yourself. Basically your career and kind of, just tell us about yourself.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Tyrone. Thanks for having me. Mm-hmm. It's an honor and exciting to be to meet like this and to use our media to our advantage. Mm-hmm. I was born and raised in Siksika at the West End. Mm-hmm. My parents are Daryl and Rosemary Breaker. My grandparents are the late Robert and Rosalind Breaker, mm-hmm. and the late Adam and Rosie Solway, mm-hmm. and extended families, the Medicine Shield, the Doors, Big Snakes, and that's where I was born and raised. Mm-hmm. I did my schooling in Strathmore, and all my sports. I did a lot of my extracurricular activities, mm-hmm. in Strathmore. And then we'd in the summer or winter times, like the native provincials and Treaty 7 playoffs, they were called, would come play with the brothers on the reserve, and we'd go to Gay, Napigani, mm-hmm. Saddle Lake, Enoch, all over. Yeah. For these tournaments. It's much different how it is now. Yeah. You have the treaty games and then the provincials. Mm-hmm. Back then we had to we had Treaty 7 playoffs. Yeah. With the Treaty 7 teams, Morley, Sarsi, Gay, Nabigani, Siksika. And then the winner of that, or the top two, would go to provincials. Oh, wow. So it was a different format now. Yeah. You didn't see 30, 40 teams at these outings. Yeah. You had to actually win your treaty games, and then you go to provincials. Oh. So it was pretty, back then it was a lot different. Yeah. And then in the summertime, we had a farm and ranch, and that's where I was raised, with cattle and farming. Mm-hmm. So we didn't really get a lot of time to play around or whatever. Mm-hmm. We were always put to work. Yeah. But yeah, that built some strong characteristics for me and my siblings. Yeah. We were sitting in a tractor, no air conditioning, AM radio. Yeah. So we had to really beg mom and dad to buy a Walkman, a Walkman with a cassette, and then the batteries were expensive. So it wasn't. They didn't have those luxuries so we had to. Of course, Dad would just kind of shrug it off, say, "No, you get out there and work." Yeah. But there's a lot of that haying. We had to. Mm-hmm. We were busy all year round, mm-hmm. with the farm and ranch. Yeah. Running the cattle. We had to feed. So we'd hay in the summertime around Stampede, and then we'd have to haul the bales. And it was the old prairie wool. They're really, really heavy. Oh, yeah. So that was our, and then Dad made us run too. Yeah. So that was our way of training for hockey in the fall. Mm-hmm. And then in the fall, Uncle Bob had the Deerfoot Raiders cross country club. Oh, really? So there was comprised of a lot of people my age, a little bit older and younger, running cross country. Yeah. And we'd have meets in Calgary, and then there was a lot of good runners on the nation, and mm-hmm. We'd always there's always be somebody who would always go with the elite, and there was Western Pacific Championships in Vancouver every year. Yeah, and so we'd start off in Calgary, and you'd make that cut. You go to Sundre for the provincial rundowns, and then the top 10 there go to Vancouver. Oh, wow. So in '83, I went to Vancouver there. Me and Warren Many Bears. Mm-hmm. He's a good friend of mine. But every year that was my upbringing. And then wintertime we'd play hockey, but we'd still have to feed the cattle, every morning. And it's pretty. So that was my upbringing.
Yeah.
So eventually, as I grew older, I didn't want to do the work because it was pretty hard work, and so I eventually just met up with some non-native Napio friends, and I got my first job at 14 dishwashing at the station. It used to be called Craig's Way Station back in the day. So
Really?
So my first job was dishwashing, and of course, me and my buddy, we got into trouble. So that's when I kind of started this crazy path. So, I don't have the best, past, but it led to a lot of crazy times, and it got to the point where it started being hazardous to myself and to others. So I fell deeper into the world of addiction, and for at least 20 years, and it wasn't until 12 years ago that I said, what, this is enough. I can't go on like this. I wasn't able to hold jobs. It was a very toxic pattern. So in 2012, when I decided to change my life around, I went to Nin'na Institute, and it was my grandmother was part of that. They developed that. Butch Wolflag, who's always been a mentor of mine over the years, and there's so many people that went to Nin'na from our community, and that was always embedded in my mind. But as I changed my life around, I was guided to Nin'na, and I enjoyed it. So I got my addictions certification through Nin'na. Wow. Just so happened there was a job here at the health center, and I applied, and I got the job. So I started working with NADAP. That's addiction services and community wellness. And I loved working with the people, helping people with their along their journey. And eventually community members saw that, and they said, you should run for council. And I said, okay, well, if that's what you want, that's what the people want, I'll run. So this is my third term. It's the biggest honor that anybody can have. Well, for me, is representing your people and trying to do good for the people. It's a tough job. It's a tough role, but you got to have thick skin. But when you can connect with the people, it's amazing. And that's what I love best about the job is or the role. It's not a job; it's a role. Because I'm called upon to do this role, and I carry those values into my role every day, and that's trying to help our people, to a better a better path, or enjoy life, right? Because I know for a fact through lived experience that the world of addiction is very, very dark, and so many times I should be dead because I put myself in some pretty crazy situations. And even suicide survivor, I attempted suicide twice, and I was given a second chance. So with that, I just I continue to work on myself every day, and try and pass the message on that life is good without alcohol and drugs. And it's a lot of things. Life gets better. And I know so many people that have changed their lives. And in this time for our people, it's we need to stick together and help one another, because a lot of our people, we're losing a lot of our people.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing all that. It's great to get to know a little bit more about you. It's I find it very important that we get to know our counselors a little bit more. Also too, thank you for coming out. It's actually an honor for us, to have you in here to think, and for you to take the time out of your busy day to come and share with us. But I guess just to also just begin the conversation a little. After your wonderful introduction, I know you were mentioning too. Well, I learned before too that you were I guess you started you worked here before.
Yeah.
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 As I think, did you say the communications manager?
Yeah. So right after high school, I went to a private institute on multimedia communications, and when I had finished that, then I specialized in journalism, print journalism, and I worked for Cornerstone Communications, and then a group of us, we started Calgary Native News. This was in the 90s, like 93, 94.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then, so we didn't, we didn't have no internet. There was no social media, no cell phones. It was pretty simple back then. So I came back, a job opened up down here. So I applied, I got the job, and, there was late Mark Wolflake Jr. And Wade Healy, who were, running the operations. And I learned Mark had transitioned out, and I worked with Wade for about 6 months, and then he moved on. And then I applied for the communications manager, and I got it. So I was only about 24, maybe 22, but that was quite an experience. We weren't here with all this fancy equipment. We're at the mall there, where the security booth is. And it was fun times. We really, I had like Shane Breaker and Kelly Maniguns. They were they worked with me. Then we had volunteer DJs coming in and spinning discs and whatnot, providing PSAs and everything. So it was pretty fun, and we did some remote broadcasting out at different locations. I worked with back then it was AGT, TELUS. So it was AGT, and we did some remote broadcasts out of some locations.
Oh wow!
So it was pretty, on site. So it was pretty fun back then. We did we had the newspaper, we had the radio, and it was pretty fun.
Holy, yeah, I know the technology was a lot different. Like, I know you were saying like you used to use the CD player.
We had CDs, and the rack is still there. We had two CD players, and a tape deck. So we brought in our tapes too. Like there was this inventory here, but we all brought in our own as well. And so that's what we had to do. And then if we had to be away for a bit. We had a multi, the two CD players, and we put random and on repeat, like powwow music, whatever. We didn't have the technology now where we could pre-record and whatnot. But we'd, it was pretty fun. It was pretty interesting. I remember I did some work with back then. Strader was chief, and there was members of council who I brought in just to do exactly this. And there was a few that did it, but it's pretty wild.
Wow.
Even back then, we did everybody will know late Dave Melton-Tallow. It was pretty unique. I don't know if you know him, but he had a newsletter, and he was always speaking on issues that the community would felt that the community needed to know. But he was pretty borderline on slander and defamation of character. But back in those days, QR77 was a talk radio. I don't know if it is now, but Dave Rutherford was everybody would tune into him. So I thought, Siksika should have a radio talk show. So I that's what I pursued back then, and I got late Dave Melton-Tallow, and he lasted about maybe 2 weeks. He'd had a show at noon. And everybody would tune in, and it was pretty. He'd have his character was really unique. And a couple of times I had to warn him, say, Dave, you can't say that kind of stuff on radio. He'd be attacking people, and I'd say, we got to, even though we weren't, licensed per se, we piggybacked off, wind speaker, whatnot, like with Bert and whatnot, but I was cognizant of defamation of character, slander, and anything like that. But eventually, one day he got a little too far, and I gave him too many warnings, and I said, sorry, Dave, that's it. So everybody would tune in that day and listen to. we had a really good listenership back then.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it was really. Of course, we didn't have, like I said, internet or phones or nothing. It was just radio and newspaper.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
a lot of people would tune in. Yeah, it was really, really good times back then.
Yeah, that's kind of cool and crazy to hear. Just because like you guys started the talk show now, and I'm kind of still doing it and having a little bit of a, I guess you could say, radio talk show. I guess.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting. Well, it's good because we get to have these types of dialogue.
Yeah.
And use technology to our advantage. Like back then, I couldn't record.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I could. Holy,
Yeah.
if I could record Dave back then, oh jeez, a lot of people out there would remember that. And
Yeah.
like, we had a lot of listenership. People would come up to me and say, how come Dave's not on anymore? I had to explain. So, but yeah, it's good. I enjoy this. I think it's really important to do this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Also too, changing the subject a little. Like, I think one of the other important things on the reserve, when it comes to, I guess, learning culture, what are your, I guess, values, or how important do you think culture is to the people? Because, you know, I know there's like lots of, I guess per se that it's, well, for myself, like I'm not fluent in Blackfoot, and like I've always been wanting to learn more, wanting to get into it, and I've been trying hard, but like I know it's important. But just with the fast-moving life, you know, having a job and stuff, like to you, how important is it to learn culture in our today's world, and how difficult? I guess it's kind of crazy when you think about it, though. How difficult? I guess. Would you say the government or like outside? It's made us almost like it's made it like twice as hard.
Yeah.
Almost kind of like how does that affect you, or you know, how do you think it affects others? And kind of, and how important?
Yeah. So we hear that the term that's been used in the last 10 years or so is that intergenerational trauma.
Yeah.
And what the government did to us, or you know, that'll be your grandparents.
Yeah.
And my parents and my grandparents. You know, it was very. There's no word to describe what they did. Yeah. And you know, prior to, you know, I've been, you know, my dad was raised by my great grandparents, and so that was, you know, Harry and Sarah Breaker, and you know, they didn't speak any, especially the old lady Sarah, no English, so it's all he knew. So he stayed down there in North Camp here, and you know, he was raised that old way, because my great grandfather was, you know, in the societies, and he was at the sun dances, and the elders would say Tiki, you know, he was the one helping in those ceremonies and whatnot. So he was raised that way until he got brought to this building. And so, and my mom was on the east side there at Crowfoot School. So it funneled down to, you know, to us, you know, my generation, that'll be your dad and them. And we going to school and whatnot, it wasn't, we didn't have what we have now. Mind you, you know, the only school in the reserve was Crowfoot School. So everybody else had to go to Strathmore, Bizano, or wherever, Calgary. So yeah, it was pretty tough to end back home. You know, and as you mentioned, in a fast-paced world, you know, we didn't take that time to, mind you, a lot of things changed in '65 when, you know, the government finally said, okay, you guys can finally consume alcohol. That's when, these are the stories that my grandparents told me, my dad, so many others, that's when things really changed for Siksika. We started losing our ways, and, you know, alcohol really took its toll on our people. So, but we're so blessed with my, you know, late Mark Wolflake Sr. He, you know, in the 80s, we were able to, you know, continue on, get reconnected, and continue on with our ceremonies and whatnot, and you know, we still do that today. And I learned Blackfoot from my dad, who you know, speaks the old Blackfoot, and because that's who I want to learn from. So, and I try to speak whatever I know to my kids, but yeah, it's pretty tough these days. You know, our younger generations they're influenced by, you know, social media, you know, devices and whatnot. But for me personally, it was important for me to reconnect with, you know, my identity. You know, this is who I am. You know, and that's no matter what the government or whoever, courts or whatever, try and change, or it's in my blood. You know? This is who I am. I'm a Siksika. And you know, I practice as much as I can every day. You know, our teachings and whatnot. So it's very important, and it's up to, I guess, each individual to pass that down, right? And you know, we see the schools and other areas, you know, doing the best, and at least we have resources out there, right? But we have to capitalize on it and make sure we don't lose it, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. It looks like we've run out of time. You know, thank you for sharing your a little bit about yourself. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on culture and stuff. You know, it means a lot to Siksika Media that you take the time to share and come out. So I guess I'll just give an outro. That was an interview with Ruben Buck Breaker. And counselor, minor chief, and so I'll let you just give an outro, I guess.
No, thank you again, Tyrone, for keeping in touch and keeping people connected. You know, it's important that we stay connected to the people through every avenue we can. In person, we use these. A lot of people are at home. You know, there's so many outlets we could use. So I think it's important for us, Nin'na, to keep Metapiks informed of you know what we're doing. So it's important. I want to thank you and you and your crew here. You know, keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you.
Awesome.
All right, see ya.